The premise of False Alarm is that the Mason brothers have moved into town. They are smarter and more handsome than the Hardy Boys? Impossible! They must be the culprits.
Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review.
The book begins with Joe wrestling Ed Mason. Ed beats Joe, he twists Joe's ankle, and he's taking Joe's girlfriend to the school hike tomorrow. Well, it didn't take long to establish him as a villain. Meanwhile, Peter Mason is stealing Frank's girlfriend. Callie gets super excited about Peter's science fair project and says it's way cooler than Frank's project. What? No way! Frank is making a volcano for the science fair. Peter can't top that! Mr. Hardy has today's mystery. He's working as chief of security at the local museum. The museum is super fancy with motion detectors and lasers, and robotic trash cans with retractable lids. Because if you're hosting $1 million exhibit, you need robot trash cans. You know, maybe they shouldn't have wasted all of their budget on robot trash cans, because the security system isn't working well. There's a false alarm, and Frank is almost crushed by a sliding door, like the cover shows. The false alarms remind Fenton of a case from 15 years ago. In that case, the boy who cried wolf tripped a security alarm over and over and over again. Eventually, they disabled the security system, and that's when a thief stole everything. The prime suspect in that case was Richard Courtland. Like pretty much every other criminal that Fenton Hardy arrested, Courtland was recently released from jail, and he just moved to Bayport. Friday night is date night for Frank and Callie, but she canceled, because all of the Hardy Boys' friends are hanging out with the Mason brothers. Oh, those traitors! Everyone blames Frank for this, because it's obviously his fault Callie canceled date night, and he deserves to feel bad about it. Sheesh. I bet today's ghostwriter also wrote those Nancy Drew Files books, where she blames Ned since he forced her to cheat on him. The next day, the Hardys see the culprits in a green van. There's a minor chase, but the Hardys are too slow to catch them. They look up the license plates at the police station. It says the plates belong on a blue van belonging to Vanessa's mother. Joe, you're dating a criminal! Again! You really need to start screening your dates, bro. Vanessa's mom says her license plates were stolen last night when all the teenagers were here having pizza. Vanessa's mom must be pretty cool, because she's letting Vanessa have another party tonight. Everyone is dancing and having fun. Joe gets into a fake fight with Ed Mason over who gets to hang out with Vanessa. When Vanessa leaves, Ed accidentally punches Joe into a table. Joe gets up and takes a swing at Ed, but he falls into a second table. Vanessa is furious with Joe, and she kicks him out of the party, since it's obviously his fault he was punched in the face. What is up with this book and blaming the Hardy Boys for things that aren't their fault? For the next 15 pages, the book focuses on Peter Mason's science fair project. He's building super special robots, which are perfect for committing robbery. Sadly, the Hardys have a bad case of plot-related amnesia, so they don't recognize the robots as the robot trash cans from the museum. Someone kidnaps Mr. Hardy on the night of the museum opening. The Hardys try to accuse Courtland via telephone, and the telephone operator says that the Courtland family has kids. The Hardys deduce that Courtland's children are the Mason brothers, because, well, it's convenient if all of the suspicious people are culprits. And besides, there's no such thing as a coincidence in the Hardy Boys world. The Hardys split up. Frank drives around town, and he is kidnapped by Courtland. It's not Frank's fault, though. In case you haven't noticed, this is a Joe book. So Frank isn't allowed to be the hero today. Joe goes to the museum, and he is shocked when the robot trash cans end up being Peter's robots. The robots rob the museum. Instead of, stopping the robots, Joe runs outside and gets in his van so he can have a car chase with the Masons. They stop at an alleyway to have a fight, and Joe beats them up. Joe calls Courtland and arranges a hostage trade, the Masons for Frank and Fenton. Courtland double-crosses the Hardys by setting the robots loose. The epic Hardy robot battle is 3 pages long, and half the time the robots go the wrong direction. The culprits are arrested after that. Courtland and his sons threaten to appear in a later book. I really hope they don't. The end. Post-book follow-up? I thought this book would be good. That was a false alarm. The Hardy-Mason rivalry is badly done, partially because Peter doesn't appear until page 60. The Mason brothers are supposed to be mean jerks, but they come across as kinda nice. The Hardys are supposed to be super jealous, but they come across as vaguely annoyed. For most of the scenes, the dialogue doesn't match what's happening. Here's a simple example. Page 14, where Callie jumps down Joe's throat because he's impossible to deal with. No, Callie, you're wrong. Joe isn't being super jealous here. All he did was say one sentence. The investigation in this book is rather slow, and there are several chapters where basically nothing happens. Like the chapter where they try to figure out who owns the green van. Or the chapter where the Hardys go to Courtland's empty house. Or when they examine Courtland's workspace. Or when Joe revisits the museum so the reader can be reminded about the robot trash cans. None of these investigations turn up any clues at all. I can handle an investigation with false leads, but when they all fail, you start to wonder what's wrong with the detectives. So, we have a bad mystery, paired with poorly done rivalry. I solved the robot mystery long before the Hardys did. And yeah, there's not much to like about this book. The only 2 things in this book I liked was the fist fight between Joe and the Masons at the end. That was awesome. And I also liked when Joe pulled off a slick driving move to avoid the cops. So I'll give the book a point for both of those things. I give Hardy Boys Casefiles 84, False Alarm, a 2 out of 10.